Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, Edureka. Welcome back to second day's journey of your Amazon Web Service. I'm your trainer Tarun and I hope you are doing great. Another day with the India-Pakistan clashing today, and I'm happy to see that I would say to see some of the participants back today. I hope you all will be there with me even after 9 a.m. To this time. So how are you all doing? Did you enjoy yesterday's session? Any questions, doubts from the yesterday session? Anything you want to know? Or should we go ahead? Great. So when I progress ahead, so generally what I do is I normally take a recap of the yesterday's session, and that what anyway I'm going to do. So today's session, first I'll just introduce you. We are going to talk about the one of the key or basic Amazon services called Amazon EC2 and Amazon Elastic Block Storage. So that's the topics we are going to cover today. But before that, I would like to do some recap with all of you. And my recap is little different. The only reason is I would like you to participate. Since this is the only way to question answer we can collaborate with each other, I would like to know how you are doing. So I would like you to answer. So I would ask the question, I would like you to answer in the question box. And then if there is something wrong, I can correct or I'll give the answer also. Right, so I would request again everyone, if you can participate. Can you explain in brief what is cloud computing? I don't want the ditto definition by NIST. If you can, in your layman's language, if you can explain what is cloud computing? I see a few people who have joined today first time, so just a request to them. There is a video available in our learning management system. You can go through that. It would help you definitely, and in case even if some of the people cannot attend future sessions, I would request always to go through the video. It is available on our learning management system. Okay, now coming back to the question, anyone? So Padmanabhan has tried. Rahul, good. Satish has tried, okay. Frankly, if I just want to make a very layman language, I would just say any business service which follows the 5 attributes and 3 service models of NIST is called cloud computing. Isn't that easy? Any business service which follows the 5 attributes and 3 service models of NIST is called the cloud computing. Now the second question would be, what are those 5 attributes of NIST? So Suresh has already tried for a couple of, great. Anyone else? Yeah, Piyush also tried. So 5 attributes. First one is available on internet. Second one is on demand. Third one is scalable or elastic. Fourth one is pay as you go model. And fifth one is resource pooling. So 5 attributes, I quickly recap. Available on internet protocol, so it can be internet or intranet. On demand, so whenever you require, it should be available to you. Elastic in nature means it would be able to scale up and scale down as per your need. Pay as you go model means it would be charging you only for the services you are using. So it would be more like a OPEX model. And the resource pooling means it would be optimally utilizing all your resources. It has a 3 service models, IaaS, PaaS and SaaS. IaaS where it offers you the infrastructure on demand. In PaaS it offers you a platform on demand, and in SaaS it offers you a software on demand. Right? So this is about the cloud computing. Everybody clear? Great. Next question. What is a zone and region with respect to Amazon Web Services? Great answer, Suresh. Ricardo has a very good answer. Good. Piyush has a perfect answer. So region is a geographic area where Amazon is having data centers, and a zone, the data center is called a zone. Amazon is having currently 11 regions, out of that 9 are publicly available, and they are having almost 26 to 27 zones available as of now across those regions. Each zone is physically separated data center, and which might have a separate infrastructure or electricity or utility service provider. So it's very unlikely that if one service provider goes down or one zone goes down, the second would also go down. Coming to what is an AMI? Well, great. I know it's a Amazon machine image. Can you elaborate what is Amazon machine image? Thanks. Piyush has a kind of a right answer. Anyone? The easy answer is it's a pre-configured bundle software. Right answer, Suresh. It's a pre-configured bundle software which will help you to create a new virtual machine. Now that virtual machine is called an instance. Right? So pre-configured bundle software, it would be, or you can say it's a template to launch a virtual machine. The template would have a operating system, application, software, everything part of that. Right? So that's the AMI. So that's the recap of yesterday, and now it's time to move on to the today's session. Last time again I am confirming, any questions or doubts till now? Cool. So let's move on. Today's session on EC2. Now, what is an EC2? Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. This is one of the basic and one of the fundamental unit for Amazon AWS part. Now, why do I say basic or fundamental? I would say in 60 to 70% cases, when you go to the Amazon, why do you go to the Amazon? You would like to, again, when you are in a basic level or when you are starting with Amazon, I would say it's a 90% cases, you would go to the Amazon for hosting services. You want to host something on the cloud. And as we spoke yesterday, the cloud is a buzzword. Everybody would say, hey, I am on the cloud. I want to be cloud. Right? So in this scenario, when everybody wants to move to the cloud, you would be also going to the Amazon and wants to use it. Now, what would you do and how would you start with the cloud? The most important service is called Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 is a web service that enables you to launch and manage server instance in the Amazon's data center using APIs or available tools, and you can use them at any time as long as you want for any legal purpose. Now these all are tricky words. Now what do I mean here? When you go to the Amazon cloud, you go to the Amazon. Now we are talking about the on-demand yesterday, right? Now let's take the same case here. Your organization wants you to procure, say, we want to host our production website somewhere in the cloud. Now either you can procure, you can make your own cloud, you procure everything, infrastructure and set up that, or do something else. But we need in 3 days ready. And now in 3 days, you have to go to the market, find out the right codes, or you have to contact your vendors, ship me in 1 day. Then you have to set up all the infrastructure, ensuring it is the network connectivity, it is all the virus scanners and the backup, firewall, everything is set up, and you do this and you install an application over there, you configure the backup part, everything. Do you think would you be able to make it in 3 days? If it's your private, I doubt. But if you're on Amazon, I would say you can do it in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then rest of the 2.5 days or 3 days just go and sleep. Enjoy. Isn't that a great? You go to the Amazon, say I want the server, ready, available. You click, you get it. And what more? Okay, I want it now. No, I want a 2 GB RAM as of now. Okay, you get the 2 GB. No, I want a 16 GB RAM machine now. Okay, remove this 2 and make it 16. Or I can say let's add 4 more machines of the same 4 GB. Readily available. Whatever you want to do, you can do that easily in a few clicks. And I'm not doing any hype here. When I show you the demo today, you would come to know that within 7 minutes, and to give you a fact, I wanted to test something today. So at around 7:53, yes, I'm going the exact time, 7:53 or 7:52 rather, I started one machine for me, and by 7:58, I was ready with one Apache machine ready working for me. So it took me hardly 5 to 6 minutes to configure and install. Yeah, I had all the commands ready, but that's what the theory is. In 5 minutes to 6 minutes, you're ready with your production server. Yeah, now you internally configure production server for application, that is a different story. But your infrastructure with the security, all that ready in 5 to 6 minutes. You get the IPs and everything. But Amazon says, you use it as long as you want. You use for your lifetime. I'll tell you, one of my server is running since last 4 years. Uninterrupted, no issue. I'm doing some application for hosting. Since last 4 years I'm using it. There is no stop at all, no outage. But you should use it for the legal purpose. Now everybody would raise a question. Why do you say legal purpose, and what do you refer here? Legal means you should be not misusing this. If any infrastructure available on demand, and again that is a massive infrastructure, people, it's more like for the hackers also, for the DDoS attack also, right? That's likely to happen, all that things over there. Now then people would come and complain Amazon saying that, oh, your infrastructure is being used to DDoS us. DDoS, if you don't know, that's the attack you want to make on a certain websites over there to bring them down. Or there would be something the people would use for the hacking, and that's always a problem. But yes, so Amazon treats that very seriously, and whenever they receive some complaint from the user, something saying that this is being misused, and even they also monitor that if you're trying to do something wrong, because at the end the network is going out from, or the whatever the output is going from their network only, they would know this, and when they find something wrong going on or phishing, they can block your access, they will remove your production access also. So as long as you use for legal purpose, as I said, go and sleep, enjoy. Those services are available in different size and configuration. You need 600 MB RAM, you need 2 GB RAM, you need 4 GB RAM, I'm saying roughly, so it would be around 3.5. You need 8 GB, you need 16, you need 128, or you need 200 and around 40. Amazon would have a special different size available for you. Whatever you want to use, you can do that. And the best part, Whichever size select, you would be paying as per that only. So you selected 4 GB, you pay as the cost of the 4 GB size. You selected the 16 one, you pay the price for the 16 one. There is nothing like upfront or something. Whatever time you use it. And what makes a difference is capacity you need is available. Go and frankly, in my last 4 to 5 years I'm using Amazon, I have never come across a case where Amazon says, no, we can't launch an instance because it's not available. No, I have never come across that. So that helps you to remove the large expensive hardware purchase. As I said, 3 days saved. In 10 minutes of production server is up. Reduced to need the forecast traffic. Now, what is the challenge with the people would be, generally you would never know how my application is working, how it's growing up or growing fast. If tomorrow it would be, today it's taking 50 users, tomorrow it would take 5,000 users or 5 million users, would it be able to cope up or not? Don't worry. Because what happens in the Creek Info case yesterday I explained, when you go there and when you try to purchase something or on a in-house IT, you might have considered, okay, my usage will be 50,000 users or 3 million users or 10 million users, something like that. Beyond that, you would not be able to scale. Here, you can scale. It gives you infrastructure in 5 minutes. It has all the mechanism to automatically scale up, scale down. It has all the mechanism to distribute the load. So you don't need to worry. You don't need to forecast the traffic saying that today I am 5,000 and next in 10 days I will be 50,000. How would I manage? Amazon would help you. It hardly takes you some time and you can do automation also. Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. It's a very flexible model. You work, select the size and all that, and plus you select the AMIs also. When you want to make a virtual machine, what do? The first thing you go and select an AMI. Now what is an AMI? We spoke a while back, right? Amazon Machine Image you speak. Now this AMI would have a lot of configuration, and I'll come to that point in a while. So you need to select all this configuration, and based on that, and you would have a different options. It could be, you can say, okay, I want my Windows. Okay, in the Windows, do you want 2003, 2008, 2012 server? Okay, even in 2012, do you want the R2 or without R2? That. Okay, you want the Linux? Okay, RHEL, Ubuntu, SUSE Linux, Fedora. Which one you want? It's a flexible model. You want the 4 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, 200 GB RAM. You want the 32-bit OS. You want the 64-bit OS. Options are empty. Number of options are there. It's an elastic, scalable, controlled by you. So when you don't want, you can terminate it. It's a very secure. How? I'll show you that today. Very reliable service. Since last year, there is no outage I've seen. The last big outage I've seen is almost in 2011. Very, very, very cost effective. Now, just a reference, I would like to hear from you. If you have procured infrastructure, you go to the market, and when you try to buy a 4 GB machine, 4 GB RAM server with a Linux operating system, how much would you pay around roughly? The storage would be, we can say it's around 100 GB, something like that. How much would you pay? Can you give me some rough quote? Anyone? Rough? Okay, around $2,000. Anyone else? Somebody says $20,000. Again, I'm not sure exactly. It's what if I give you the same thing in just 5 to 6 cents per hour? I'm talking cents. Cents. So even if you use for whole day, you would hardly incur $3. If you use for whole year, you would hardly incur $700. And you incur for 3 years, then you incur the $2,000. Wouldn't you buy that? Wouldn't you go for that? And the advantage is, if you procured the first one and you already paid something $20,000, here you need to keep this. It's you have invested, right? Here, when you don't want it, kick it out. Nobody can ask you why. You save the money. That's the power of the Amazon Web Services. So let's see EC2 instance, Elastic Compute Cloud instance. Now, how do you launch an EC2 instance? I'll do all the demo in a while, but just to show, first step is to select an AMI. When you want to launch a virtual machine, you go and select an AMI. That's called the Amazon Machine Image. Here, while you can select AMI based on various parameters, saying that, okay, I want to launch a Windows machine, I want to launch a Linux machine. In Linux, I want to use the SUSE or something, Red Hat or whatever I want to do. One more advantage, if you go and buy a Windows machine, you need to also procure a Windows server license, right? In a normal your in-house procurement. Here, you don't need that, because the cost includes the license cost also. So it may happen that Linux would cost you around 5 cents per hour. Windows may cost you around 8 or 9 cents per hour. So it would be having a 3 to 4 cents cost more because the license of the machine. That Windows license would be included. But again, advantage, you don't need to keep the license always with you. You just pay 3-4 cents additional for the license. Now once you have selected an AMI, you provide the parameters to launch the instance. Like how many instances do you want to launch? Security group. Now I forgot to do the recap. What is a security group? What is an security group? What is a security group? Vikas is a kind of right answer. User group for access. The easiest answer would be, it's a virtual firewall. Virtual firewall for you, security group, which would allow you to all ingress and outgress access for your machine. So which all can access here and which all can go out, it can control over that. You also need to select a key pair file, which I'll show you in the demo. Now, once you select all this, you start the instance launch. Now, if you remember yesterday I showed that AMI is stored, the data of the AMI is stored in storage. Remember the yesterday's that graph image? It was in the S3. So it will start copying all the data from S3 to here. It will assign all boot parameters, that whatever the boot parameters required for the OS. It will, if required, it will attach and block storage. That's like a hard disk kind of scenario. It will attach here. It may assign an Elastic or IP here. We will talk about this also in detail. And as I said, this whole process would take maximum 3 to 5 minutes. So in 3 to 5 minutes, you would have a virtual machine available to you, which you can access from the internet very easily. And then you can configure whatever resource you want to configure over there, and you can do that. And when you don't want to use it, you terminate it. Why? Because it would keep incurring some cost to you. For example, you have hosted or created an instance for your testing purpose. So you hosted some Apache over there. Right. Now once you have hosted Apache, you would be testing something over there. That is, you test from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We can keep that also. Now once that is done, what would you do? You would like to stop the, you would not like to use this instance because my testing is done. Now even if you are not using, but at Amazon level, if it is running, it would incur cost to you. That's a very obvious thing, because Amazon has allocated some service like that virtual machine is available to you. Whether you use or not use, that's your concern. Amazon says, I am giving you infrastructure, you have already started using it. Now internally, if you are not doing anything, I can't help you. You have to pay for me. So you would say, okay, then I'll terminate it. So once you remove it, it stops charging you. So when you start using, it will start charging. But in some cases, you would say, no, yeah, see, I work in a 9 to 6 a.m., 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. But after 6 p.m., tomorrow morning also I would need it at 9 a.m. Then do I need to come again and configure everything again and again? That's a tiring process for me. I don't want to do that. I want to save the cost. I'm here in Amazon because I want to save the cost. There is an option possible. You can stop the machine. And what do I mean by stop? I'll come in a while. This is just a general Amazon EC2 instance lifecycle. You select an AMI, you launch an instance, you configure that instance, and when you don't need it, you terminate it or you stop it. Now AMIs are of two types, and this is a very important part you need to understand. Why? Because if you see in the previous slide, when AMI was launched, it would do all the initialization of the boot parameters and attach some storage. Why do you need to attach a storage? You need a root device, right? Normally when you go to your machine, you start your machine, you would need a main drive, right? C drive or something, you would need that. That's a bootable drive where you would have something. Same way, that is called the root device. You would need one root device which would have all the operating system components, and it can also help you to configure certain steps. Now in the steps, AMI has two types based on the root device attached to it. Now why do I use the word attached to it? The reason would be it's a virtual environment. You get a virtual machine, right? You don't get the physical machine that you can go there. So it may happen that on a physical machine, Amazon might have created hundreds of virtual machines which they would give you. Now, when that machine is given to you, the storage which requires a root device may be on the same machine, may not be on the same machine. And in most cases, it would not be on the same machine because it would be a network drive attached as a Amazon EBS volume. Now I'm sure you would start getting little confused that, okay, till now the EC2 story was going okay, I get a virtual machine and everything. Now suddenly you threw something saying that I am attaching a EBS volume. What is that coming? You need to wait for a while, at least around 9:45. The next part which we are going to cover is Amazon EBS volume. What is that? But just for your reference, a volume is nothing but a block level storage for a persistence data storage. So whenever you launch an EC2 instance, a block level storage would be attached to it in such a way that even if instance get terminated, all your data would still survive. That is the purpose of the EBS volume. We will go more in detail, but just for your reference, when you launch an EBS backed AMI, it will have a EBS volume assigned as a root volume. So all your C drive or the operating system level, everything would be here in this volume only. And it would be persistent. And all the data would be persisted even if the instance gets terminated or due to any reason instance fails. Now, only challenge is, in this case, it would charge you for this EBS volume also. You would say, what do I mean by the charge? So let me come to the next slide and then I'll come back to the charge part again. Second one is instant store backed AMIs. Instant store backed AMIs, which will launch the instant store back instances. Now you'd say, what is that? You just said EBS, you said instant store back. You're throwing us too many jargons. Don't worry, all our demo would clear quite a few of doubts. But in this case, when you launch an instance, it would have internally an ephemeral storage available inside, which would be of 500 GB, 1 terabyte, something like that. Based on the instance size, it would have by default some data available here. So that's an ephemeral storage. Ephemeral means temporarily. It would have an ephemeral storage available as part of this. Now what does it mean? It means that whenever instance get terminated, all your data would be lost. Everything would be lost. So this is a temporary storage. So you would be useful when you want to run it for temporarily and you want to forget it, then it's a fine. But for a long-term purpose, it may not be a great idea. In that case, you also need to create an additional volume, something storage system attached to that, where you can control that, okay, which files you want to persist. So you don't want to persist the OS files, but you want to persist only database files. You can do this. But this flexibility comes with a price. Because every time you have to create a new volume attached to that, you have to plan this. Plus, if you want to make an AMI out of this instance, it's a tedious job. Also, all the data, if by mistake also something happened and all the data would be lost. So that's why what Amazon recommends, unless you have a specific use case, prefer to use the EBS-backed AMI. I repeat my words again. In the EBS-backed AMI, a volume or something you can say a storage system or persistent storage system is attached as a root device, which will be persistent. So even if the instance get terminated, your data would not be lost. And it's very flexible, very easy to use. It's a faster also. When in the instance store backed, whenever you launch an instance, it would not have any root device, but it would have only ephemeral storage. So whenever the instance get terminated, it would be that storage would be lost. Then I am sure everybody would raise, oh, then why do I go to instance store back in AMI? I would always go with the EBS. There is a little catch here. Reason is this is your EC2 instance. And you are attaching an EBS volume to this, right? So in this case, it would cost you for this EBS volume plus EC2 instance cost. Both cost would be there. Then I need to think, do I need to use the EBS or not? Okay, I'll tell you, if you want 100 GB of the storage, 100 GB I'm saying, which is a huge number, right? I will give you this 100 GB of the storage in just $10 per month. Oh, it's coming only mean $10 per month? Then I can think of, yeah, I don't worry, right? I can save some cost also with the EC2. If it's but again, do I still go with this per concept? Why should I pay $10 extra also? Does it offer me anything? Because you say ephemeral storage is there, I will just create a smaller volume to persist the data. Why do I need all this? What is the advantage lies it with me? Right? Advantage is a new state or a important state called stopped. For the instance store backed AMIs, when you launch an instance, it can be only in two states. Either it's a running or it's a terminated. This is like you Jerry Maguire case, who says, show me the money. So when you run the when you run the instance, it would show you, it would start charging you. And when you stop the terminate instance, it would stop charging you. So that's been taken care. Start charge, stop charge. Now, so we just take an example. If something is charging you 5 cents per hour, when it's charging you 5 cents per hour, so here you have nothing option. You have to keep on running it 24 hours and it would be charging you 5 cents per hour. If you go to the EBS back AMI, how it would charge you? It would be start charging you at a 5 cents per hour. So your daily cost would be how much? Around $1.2 roughly. We can say that. And it would also have the gray part you see is the EBS cost. So generally we say we created a 30 GB volume. So 30 GB volume would charge you $3, total $3 for the whole month, right? Now your usage is, you want to use this thing only from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. I just keep it 8 hours just for our sake. You want to use it from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you are using instant store back, you can't do anything. You have to keep on running for 24 hours. If you are running the EBS back, you can always stop that. When you stop it, it would stop charging the running cost. So here you run for 8 hours. So 8 into 0.05. So it would charge you only 40 cents per day. So every day how much you are saving? 80 cents. So in a whole year, whole month, you would save almost $24 here. By paying how much extra? Just $3 extra. Isn't that a great? Plus, it assures you the data backup, it assures you the faster creation of AMI, it assures you the faster performance. So, that's why it's recommended that as long as possible, use EBS back AMI only, where the root device is EBS, unless you have a specific use case. One more thing I would like to add here, and then I'll ask the question. So, this is the pricing, but when you go to the EBS part, it supports the stop part also. When you try to compare, it supports the stop, which is the biggest advantage of this. Also, the data is persistent. That's also one of the biggest. So this advantage is useful when you want to have a dev and test environment, when you want to just develop and test all that. This second advantage is very useful when you have production environment, because your data you need to persist. Third advantage also in the production, it's a very fast to boot. In 1 minute it would be up and running. The size can be 1 terabytes, and in future rider I would say in a few days it could be 16 terabytes. Why? I'll tell you when I go to the EBS. Also, AMI creation is the fastest and easiest. It would hardly take 5-7 minutes, and with just click of the one right click would create an AMI. This requires a special AMI creation tools and lot of efforts, around 15-20 minutes. So this is also a tough part. Considering all this, I would always say, if as long as possible, use Amazon EBS backed AMI. Now I'm sure everybody would have a question, how would I know which is EBS back, which is instant store back? I'll show you all the parts in the demo. But here the important is understand the concept, whether it's an EBS or instant store back, and which one you should use it. So any questions till now, or everybody clear? One question which I got is, with that non-EBS backed, does terminate means the machine is destroyed? Yes, the machine is destroyed completely. So that's why all the data is lost. Stop only EBS offers. EBS would have two states. If, as I showed before, EBS would have two states, stop and terminate. Terminate means it's a completely destroyed, instance is destroyed. Your EBS may still be there. In instant store, it's only terminate, means everything destroyed, no data is saved. I spent some more time here, but I wanted to be very clear. This is one of the fundamental for the Amazon. So everybody clear? Nalapuram says S3 store backup facility available. I'm not sure. What do you mean by the backup? You mean the AMI, right? How do I back up the data? How do I back up the data in the instant store, right? That's what I'm saying. You would not be able to back up the data of the instant store if the data is on a ephemeral storage. In this instant store, there would be an ephemeral storage which would not be possible. If you want to back up certain data only, then you create an EBS volume attached to this instance, then only the data which you copy here would be persist. So you need to do that manually, right? Yes. So people say, if this is the case, what is the advantage of the S3? Again, I would use the word instant store back instead of the S3 back word. What is the advantage of the instant store back AMI? Only advantage is when you want to run the temporary jobs, like you want to do the Hadoop processing, where you might require something 200 GB of the file size or the infrastructure. Now you don't want to pay for the EBS cost and you want that only temporary storage, you go for this option. So only when you want to run something temporary, you go for the instant store. In most of the cases, this would be useful. Also, what Amazon used to say, again, I won't agree on this now because Amazon EBS is much advanced now. They say in some of the cases, some OS were not available in the EBS earlier. But now I don't think that's because due to kernel size and everything is available here. So I don't see a lot of advantages here in the instant store except some cost saving you want to achieve. Otherwise, everything plus for the EBS only. Right? Okay, so Suresh says, why is the size limit for EBS 1 terabytes? I would like to answer that when I go to the EBS. Again, I won't say why, that's Amazon thing. But what you can do, Amazon provides 1 terabytes, but Amazon has already announced in November, and hopefully by this month end or by March, you would have a 16 terabyte size volumes also available. But you can create a multiple volume. So again, if you want to create, I won't stop you saying you have one instance, the root device is 1 terabytes. But nobody stops you, create one more of 1 terabyte, one more of 1 terabytes and attach all this here. This is like you attach D drive, E drive, F drive, everything is possible. So it doesn't mean that you would be restricted only to 1 terabyte. Okay, everybody clear with the concept now? It's a very important concept, so I'm spending some time here. Any questions or doubts? Okay, so I believe we can go on. Now, when you are going and trying to select an AMI, question is why there is a 2 in the EC2. You forgot the name. Elastic Compute Cloud. So it's a ECC. So they call it EC2. Okay. So question was why is there 2 in the EC2? So that is for 2C. So Elastic Compute Cloud. Now when you go and try to select an AMI, you would be selecting, first would be region, I'll show you. Then which OS you want to launch AMI, you need to select software, that whether it's a EBS back or instance store back. Also during instance launch, you would select which bit, 64, 32-bit, what is the size, IO performance, everything you would select all this. And I'll show you everything that when you are launching an instance from AMI, these are the parameters you need to work with. So let's do one thing. I'm sure that after some theory people would like to see the demo. So let's go the demo first and then we will come back. Now we would go, and by the way, how many of you have registered with Amazon? How many of you got the Amazon account? Okay, 5, 6, 7, cool, 12, 15. Wow, perfect. Thanks all. So Great job. So I believe most of you are having. Thanks all. So that's a perfect thing. Now, when you sign into the console, it would take you to this dashboard. A good question. And say if I create something easy to test setup, would that cost me? If you follow my instruction, I told you yesterday, if you follow my instruction, it would not cost you. Now, which instruction? I would tell you in a while. So by the end of the day, you would know this. So please follow those instructions. It would not cost you. This is the Amazon's dashboard you would see. Now, this is all the services of the Amazon, and we talked briefly about that. Quite a few of this we would show you also in the demo and all that. Now, this is the regions. Remember the 9 regions I talk about? These are the regions of the Amazon. These are Amazon regions. So whenever you want to launch an instance, you need to select that. Now, regions are a very important criteria because you should select the region near to your end clients. Okay, I am working in India, but I am deploying an application for someone where all users would be in USA. So I should select the US East one. Or you are working in Europe, but all your end users might be in India only. So you should select the Singapore region. Now one thing you should note that based on the region, the pricing of the instance should also vary. So if in the US East it costs you 3 cents per hour, in Singapore it may cost 0.035. So something which costs here 30 cents, it may cost 32 cents in Singapore. Or something which costs you 3 cents in US East, it may cost 3.5 cents in Singapore. Something more. So the price would little different. You need to check the price based on the region. Now, first thing we will keep so I would recommend the cheapest region is US East. So whatever you are doing, always try to use the US East only. So Rahul says the people may always choose the cheapest one. No, I won't agree. The reason is sometimes for you, the performance is more important than the cost. You are living in a world where your users want the performance. If you know the story of the Google improved their search criteria. They did a lot of research recently, around 2-3 years back, and improved the search result performance by just around a quarter of a second and something, a little more. And they found that the usage of the Google was increased by 5%. So that's why sometimes you would care more for the performance than the cost. Think about the BSE trading. When you are doing a stock trading case, if it's going to take around 2 seconds or 3 seconds for me to make a transaction, I would not like that because the price change every second. And when people are doing in a bulk, they would not like that. So some of the cases, performance is more important than the cost. So you need to select which one is more important and you select the regions accordingly. Clear? You can select. So Rahul says, what happens if I select the US and choose India? You can select any region. Amazon does not stop you. Amazon would just charge you based on the region you have selected and the hosted service on that. By the way, there is no region like India. You have to select the region as a Singapore. So I just correcting that. So you have to select from this. You select the Singapore. It would charge you. And again, it's not a huge cost change. It's a minutely, hardly 2-3% of that cost would change. So you don't need to worry a lot about that. You might change, go for the performance. I go to the EC2. I click on the EC2 on the left hand side. It's loading. Yeah. So this is an EC2 dashboard. If you can see, It would show me how many instances are running, how many volumes are there, how many key pairs are there. I will show you everything. First thing we need to do is go to the key pairs. On the left hand side, you can see key pairs. I would highlight it. What is a key pair? Key pair is a security mechanism to access your instance. Now what do I mean by the access? Access not from the external side, but like I created a Linux instance. I want to do the telnet or putty to that machine, right? I created a Windows machine. I do want to do the RDP to that machine. Now how would I do that? So Amazon provides a concept called key pair, which is a PEM format file .pm, which is a secure mechanism which would be attached to an instance. So whoever have this key pair file, only that person can connect to the instance, no one else can. The disadvantage is if you forget or you lose this file, Amazon does not store it because it's a public private key concept. Amazon would give you private key file, and when you provide this private key, Amazon would have a mechanism where it might have stored the public key inside the instance, which would validate this and allow you to access the machine. Now if you lose this private key by mistake or accidentally, there is no way Amazon would give you back. Amazon says we don't store it because it's a secure thing, it's your only, I can't connect to your instance. So you have to be careful for this. You always store and save in a safe place. So I'll create a key pair. I need to give something, name. If you see in my Chrome, it has already started downloading, or it has downloaded for me. In Mozilla and other, it would ask you to save. You have to save it. So I'll copy it to my folder. Now you can see it is in PEM format. Now for all the Linux and Macintosh lovers, you can stop from here and use this PEM file only. For all Windows lovers means where your desktop from where you are going to connect is a Windows, like mine, is a Windows machine, you need to convert this PEM file into another format. Now there is a tool available called PuttyGen. This is from the Putty family. If you know the Putty is used to SSH or Telnet to the Linux machines. Now I'm sure everybody would have a question, how would I know these names? How would I download this? Don't worry. In our learning management system, you would have a certain manuals available. A2. You would get this kind of a manuals which would show you step-wise approach. How do you create a key pair? Everything it will show you step-wise approach. Also while launching an instance, it will show you the putty and PuttyGen and all the options. So you would have all these part available in our manual. So in case you miss something, you would get to do, you can do the hands-on, or you can go through the video also. So here you use the cool tool called PuttyGen. I'll just load my file. And I save this in a save private key. I say yes and save as a PPK. Again, if you find it confusing, don't worry. This is the first time you would find it confusing. It's a day-to-day life you would see. You use the tool called PuttyGen where you load a file and save it in a PPK format. That's it. So you created a key pair, and that key pair which you downloaded, you convert to a PPK format. You need to remember only that part. Now we create a security group also. What is a security group? Okay, Vikas has a question. Can we use this single private key for multiple instance? Yes, you can use for multiple instance single key pair. What is a security group? Right answer, Nalapuram and Santosh. It's a virtual firewall. Now, for most of you, you would get this option only, VPC. Since mine is an old account, I would get two options, but most of you would get option as a VPC only. You create the, see, if yours is a new account, you would get this option. You create in the VPC only. Here you need to define the rule. Okay, I want to do the SSH because I am now going to launch a Linux instance and I would be going to do the SSH. So I'll say from anywhere I can connect, or I can say my IP. So this is my current IP. I can connect to my current IP also. And I'll say create. So I created a security group. Two things I did. Created a security group and created a key pair file. Now I'll go and launch an instance. I click on the instances on the left hand side and I'll click the button launch instance. You can select the Amazon Linux AMI. Now if you see here, it is shown root device as EBS. All of them you find would be EBS only. So you have to use this only. If you want to use in any case, you want, because Amazon of these are all AMIs provided by the Amazon. So it would be Amazon supplied only. Yeah, so Vikas says, can I also set a subnet to allow anyone from my organization lane to connect to using SSH? You can create SSH with the VPC, subnet with the VPC. That's always possible. Coming to the, I select this. Now, okay, sorry, I wanted to show something in the previous. Here, this is the AMIs provided by the Amazon. This is the Amazon provided AMIs. You can use this. If you have created your own AMIs, it would be listed here. Amazon also offers a marketplace, and which is a very good option because it allows you to set up certain software by few clicks. For example, you want to use the Oracle on Linux. There is an AMI available ready to use by Oracle only. You just click on that, it would be available. Or there is an AMI for the MongoDB. You click on that. Sorry, actually it would show you that MongoDB AMI would cost you this much. Yeah, it would also show whether it is charging for the software or not. So it's a free, since MongoDB itself is a free, it would give you ready-made MongoDB to work with. If you want to use this something like Zend, or which one should we select? Let's go for the search for the Microsoft or SharePoint. So a ready SharePoint available for me. If I click on that, it would show you when you launch that instance, it would be available to you easily. Yeah, there would be some additional cost for the license. So license cost would be there because it would be instance cost plus some license cost. Both would be there, but you can use it for your R&D purpose or for your production service also, because it would be ready to use. Right? So you can either select AMIs from marketplace, or there would be some communities also who offer the free AMIs. You can do that also. You can select any of these options, and in the community option you would also find the option to select the instant store back. Amazon offers mainly EBS back only. AMIs. So we will select this. Now, what is HVM? Somebody asked me, Varun asked me. HVM stands for hardware virtual machines. There are two options. One is HVM and then another one is a PV. That is a para virtualization. You can see this is a PV. These are the two types of virtualization used by the Zen open source hypervisor. Amazon uses both. All latest AMIs are with the HVM. Here you can virtualize using the hardware also. In para virtualization it was mainly on the, rather I would say a software would be available to virtualize the hardware. So this is more controllable, while para virtualization was more powerful. They say it had a better performance. But with the all Amazon's latest innovations and all latest instance types, Amazon recommends to use HVM because it would be working with the all new instance types as well as it would give you better performance. So hardware virtual machine and the para virtualization. Always select T2.micro when you want to try with Amazon. Why? See, free tier eligible. Now what is a free tier? I told you, right? If you follow me, you would get something free. Go to the URL aws.amazon.com/free. When you sign up with the Amazon for 1 year, whole year, you would get some services free of the cost. How much? If you go to the EC2, you would get 750 hours of EC2 per month free of the cost, but of micro instance size only. That means you launch one instance now, you keep on running 24/7. If it's a micro, T2.micro, it would not cost you at all up to 1 year. Because in 1 month it can have maximum 744 hours. So this would always be free. Yeah, but if you made a mistake, like you launched 2 instances, right? First instance ran for the 500 hours in a month. Second instance, both are micro, ran for the 400 hours. So Amazon would charge you 150 hours cost. So Amazon would charge you for the 150 hours. So because of the question, they specify I can use RHL also for free and that would not incur OS license cost. Yes, you are right. If it's a new instance, you can use RHEL, Linux, SUSE Linux, Windows, any of them as part of the free usage tier for 750 hours. So this would be free of the cost for you. So whenever you have doubt, you can come to this site and check what is the part of my free usage tier. So always select T2.micro, else it would cost you. Now Piyush says, can I run Hadoop on Linux using this? If Hadoop can run on 600 MB RAM machine, I'm fine. So frankly, I have not tried Hadoop on the micro. It may work, may not work. I have not tried on that. You need to check whether it would run on 600 MB RAM machine or not. Or you can launch 3 or 4 600 MB RAM machines, run them for just 15 hours in a day total. So that's one day if you run it would be 90 hours only. It would not cost 750. But if you keep on doing every day 90 hours, then it may cost some time also. So question is, so with EC2 S3 will also be free? Don't go to S3 as of now. When I go to the topics of S3 next week, I'll cover that. For now, we will focus on EC2 and EBS. Now once we select the T2.micro, this is what you provide the parameters. How many instances do you want to launch? What would be your VPC? You would get a default VPC here, and each VPC would have a subnet. Now this subnet would be public and private, both subnet can be. Remember to do one thing. Remember to enable this part, auto assign public IP. Remember to auto assign public IP. in this case, what would happen? Because whenever you enable this, whenever instance is launched, it would always have a public IP assigned to that. So question is, if should I stop the instance if not in use micro? Yes. If you want to save the money, you should stop the instance. Now I am role. I'll talk on day 5. This is the network interface part of the VPC. Network is attached to that. I go ahead. So Varun says, does it mean only EC2 is free? Only one service? No, Varun. As I said, as part of the free you go, each and every service listed here is part of the free usage tier. Whether you use EC2, S3 or you use both or use everything, as long as you are within the limit of the specified here, it would be free of the cost. Now I select the root volume here, which volume I am creating. So this was EBS back instance. So it would have a root device attached to that. Remember, a EBS volume would be attached to that. Now EBS volume are of 3 types. I'll come to that in a later part. Then I will say tag the instance. So you select and plus delete on termination. I'll also come in when I go to the EBS. So this is a root device. You call it as a dev XVDA. This is just a caption I want to give to identify my instance. I can select my security group. We selected the security group. I'll just review and launch. And when I say launch, it would ask me to assign that key pair file. We created this 15th Feb. And Amazon asks you categorically, do you have this file? Be sure you have this file. Because if you lost it, you would never be able to connect to this machine. Okay. So your instance is launching. Remember, the first stage would be the pending, where instance is being copied from all the data bootable parameters that are being copied. Then we will wait for this to become in working condition, running condition. Till that time, if you see, there would be some metadata available in the instance part. This is my instance ID. This is the public IP. It's a public IP available to me, so I can access this instance using a public IP. Now this is very important. If you remember while launching, I mentioned that auto assign IP should be enabled. If you don't do that, you would not get the public IP. So then there would be a different way you have to take it, which you will see later on. But for now, remember to do the auto assign public IP enable. Now, what happens? This is my instance ID. This is the instance type. This is the public IP. Elastic IP is not there. I'll come to elastic IP. This is the availability zone. Amazon selected by default because I did not provide. I can provide my own also. This is my security group. This is my AMI ID. This is my Ethernet card. Everything is there. This is my block device. All the data is here. Right? Now, what is an elastic IP? See, when you stop the instance and start it back, always it would have a new public IP, because Amazon gives you a public IP based on the DHCP, so it would give you a new public IP every time you stop and start the instance. If you don't want to do that, Amazon, because if you have hosted a website which is running just 6 hours in a day due to any reason, now every time you start up, if it is having a new IP, you can't go and inform end users every day saying that now I have a new IP. Or even by mistake you terminate your instance gets stopped or terminated and you launch a new instance, it would have a new IP. You can't go and keep on changing the IP every time in a domain name service. So for that purpose, Amazon provides an option called elastic IP. Elastic IP is a static IP which is allocated to your account and not the instance. So what happened? I will say allocate new IP in the VPC. and I can assign this elastic IP. How can I assign this? So currently I already have a public IP available. Now if you remember, I spoke that if you forgot to enable that assign elastic IP enable, you would not get this. So in that case, when you want to assign, you first create an elastic IP, click on the network interface, open this network interface, and this network interface, you say associate address, yeah, you need to give a private IP first. So it would have a private IP available, and now I would be able to assign this my public IP. This is the elastic IP I got. It would always be fixed for me. I would use this. Now why do I need this? Why do I need this? This would be a fixed IP for me. So even if my instance gets stopped and start again, I would always have that IP available for me. Right? So you can see my elastic IPs. Now I don't have the public IP. I'll have only elastic IP. Right? So this is the concept of the elastic IP. Now, even if I stop and start, it would always have this IP assigned to that. So it would be a fixed IP for my instance. Are we clear till now? Any doubts? I think Varun, I answered your question. So anything else? Yes, that's what I was waiting for. Question. So people can ask me, then in that case, shouldn't I use the elastic IP always? Elastic IP you can use, but there are two restrictions with the elastic IPs. One is you can get maximum 5 elastic IP per account. If you want more, you have to go and request Amazon. Amazon would give you, but you need to request more. Second is elastic IP would be chargeable if it is not assigned to instance. Currently it is assigned to instance, but when it is not assigned, it would charge you, and it's not part of the free usage. So if you stop the instance, then it will start charging you, and it would start just 1 cent per hour, but it would cost you. So if you want to try with the elastic IP, just do testing for now, and once your work is done, just say disassociate address and release the address. Else it would charge you even if you are in a free usage tier. Remember the instructions. If you want to try out, try this, but it may cost you. Clear? Now I'll try to connect to the instance. No, sorry. I'll use the service called putty. This is my public IP in the putty, and I need to provide my key file. So in the SSH authentication, I just provide my key file here, that PPK file, and I say open. My machine, oh, did I provide the wrong one? I provided the 15th November by mistake. So I logged in as a username EC2 user. Now I'm sure the next question would be, how do I know this user? Wait till the end of the session, you would know some of the answers for this also. So I get my machine virtual server available to me in just 2 minutes, ready to use. I explained this, so it took time, but it's available for me. Now whatever I want to do on this machine, I can do that. So what we did, this machine is available, Amazon was available on demand. Let's see what we did. It was available on internet. Yes. Whenever I requested for the machine, did I get it? Yes, it's on demand. It's elastic. Yes, if I want to change the size, I want to increase, it's elastic. How would it cost me? It would charge me on a pay. If I run for 2 hours, it would charge me for the pay-as-you-go model. Amazon itself is a complete multi-tenant system using the resources optimally. Perfect example of cloud computing. It's following the 5 attributes of the cloud with this. Right, everybody? Everybody clear till now? Any doubts? I'm not hearing from anyone. So do I believe everybody is back to the, has gone to the match, or are you still here? So question is, if elastic IP is associated to the instance, will it charge? No. If you remember, I said when it is not associated, it would charge you. It would, but when you stop the instance, at that time it would not be associated there. So that's why you need to ensure that if you just test it and then release it, don't keep on running. Okay, everybody? I'll show the how to release elastic IP also. Don't worry. I'll show that. You don't need elastic IP for this course. I'm just showing as because it's a concept you need to understand well. Now, let's host our website. That's more important. I am installing an Apache. This is the ready command I have. So I'm just installing Apache. I'm starting the Apache. I'll start it. And now I will create a index file here in Apache. So I will install Apache. I have set up a index file. I can access this. Would it work or not? I want to know from you. Would this page load or no? If yes, then why? If no, then why? Great answer from Vikas. Anyone else? Suresh says, I didn't see you launch it. I installed the Apache and I started the Apache. I have already said, somebody says you need to set up the server. I already set up everything there. Niranjan is right. Second right answer. Nalapulam is also right. Third right answer. It would not work. Why? What did I miss? I did not miss anything at the Apache. Shashwata is also right. I forgot to open port 80. I need to open port 80. then only it would allow me. Remember I said firewall. Unless I open it, it would not allow me. See, it did not load the page for me. Now I'm just going to open the port 80. It's working. Isn't that easy? In 2 minutes your web server is running, ready to use. How easy, how fast, how convenient. Amazon rocks. Everybody clear? How do you launch it and everything? Vikas says, if it's a Linux, do I need to go through the pain of going through the IP tables? Do you see I did? I didn't do anything. I just installed the Apache. Now, let's see what you can do the release IP. So I'll go there. I'll first say disassociate address. And then you can release the address. Clear everybody? Also in the instance, when I want to stop it, I can just say actions and say instance stop or terminate. It has stopped my server. Clear with the concepts, everything till now? Somebody says, what if we want IIS launch and Windows instance? When launching, I selected Amazon Linux. You can select the Windows. All options possible. But select one which is free tier eligible. Don't select anything other. Select one which is free tier eligible. So Kirti, I didn't get your question. So what was that question for? I just see the question marks, but did you ask something? Okay, so Kitty says, if I choose the SharePoint machine image, what about the other softwares if required? You need to install it manually. Like I selected a bare metal, the Linux machine, and I installed Apache on top of that. I can install the MySQL, I install the PHP, anything I want to do that, I can install that. So some software which are not available here, you should install on your own. Right? Amazon gives you a virtual server. You would have an administrator access on that. Whatever you want to do, you can do install over there. Clear? So Kriti said, then why do they have the different images? It's so easy to use, right? If I have to use Windows or Linux, I select that. Plus, sometimes if I just have to use the MS SQL server, I go and set up. Instead, if Amazon gives me readily set up, I should use that. If I want to use the MongoDB, I select and create a Linux. I install the MongoDB on top of that. I configure everything. Instead, if somebody gives me ready to use MongoDB without charging me extra, why shouldn't I? In some of the cases also, like when I go Microsoft, some of the servers ready to available. I can do that. I don't think 2014 servers are available. I believe only 2012 servers are available. But you can check even in the community or somewhere else also they might be available. Okay. So what we can do is let's take a break. It's a 9:25 again today. We'll be back by 9:35. So till that time, if you have any question, do keep pinging. So Shashwat says, does 30 GB EBS include OS software? Yes. If you are launching a Windows machine and you selected 30 GB, it would have the Windows OS all part of that EBS volume. Okay. Then let's take a break and we'll be back in 30 minutes. Sorry, 10 minutes. went to the 30 GB. So 935. So I am back. Are you all? So enjoying the session today? I'm not asking for math. I'm just asking for are you enjoying today's session? Great. So we learned about the EC2. Now we'll go ahead. Now EC2 instance, when you try to launch, it would be in a different families. Now just to show here, when you go and say launch instance, you would find the various family. Now this is all the instance types, but you see this is the family. Micro instance is always part of the free usage tier up to 1 year. Then there are 5 family: general purpose, compute optimized, GPU, memory and storage. What is this family for? See, general purpose is when you want to do the general hosting like SAP, SharePoint, something like normal mid-size database, you can use the general purpose. But in some of the cases, you would like to have a specific compute optimized where you need a more compute power like batch processing, distributed analytics, high performance science and engineering. In this case, where you would have a more compute power offered to you. In some cases, you need more memory like caching services, special on SAPs. In those cases, you would get an instance where there would be more memory available to you. So based on your utilization, you can decide which instance family you want to go with. Sometimes you need a high storage, means which works with the very well with the IOPS and all that part, like NoSQL databases and the where you need a SSD storage over there, which would have the best of the IOPS. Those cases you can go with the storage optimized instance. You want to use the cluster compute units, go with the cluster GPU. It is said, again, I don't know, I have not seen in the practical, but you can make a virtual supercomputer with the Amazon using this cluster GPU, the whole scenario, because they would be offering around 200 GB plus RAM and you can do all the clustering very easily with them. So based on your need, now what are all these instances I was talking about? Now we talk about the first is a T2 or the micro and all that, where they would be bustable family, where you would get they would not have an internal storage, but memory would be 4 GB, 1 GB RAM, 630 RAM, 2 GB RAM, based on that, and the price would also vary as per that. 13 cents, or sorry, 0.0313 cents, 0.026 cents, 0.052 cents, something like that. Price would keep varying. You go to high CPU family, you get for 7 GB, you get more compute units, 20 compute units, 100 up to 108 compute units. More CPU power. You go for the memory part. If you want to go for the high memory, here you would see there would be a more memory offered to you. 244 GB RAM, something like that. You can get the cluster compute also part of that. So based on your requirement, and you see the price for each is different. Like you go for cluster compute 8 extra large, which gives you 60 GB RAM, 88 compute powers, but since it's a cluster compute, it would, for Linux it would cost you $2 per hour, Windows it would cost you 2.57 because 57 cents is the cost of the Windows license. Here 244 GB, $3.5 and around 33 cents cost of the OS. So based on your requirement, it would be different. You select the family. This is the again high memory family. You get 60, 70, 68 different kind of a memory. The compute would be little different than that. So when high memory, compute in that case the memory to compute ratio would be higher. In high compute, compute to memory ratio would be higher. So based on your requirement, you can select the instance family and work with that. And you can see the huge number of options available. And pricing would, this is just a comparison. The one thing I wanted to show you, initially when you select M1.small or M3.large, that's the general purpose, or storage optimized, or T1.micro or T2.micro, they would say, I have a one virtual CPU, one elastic compute units. This would say I have a 8 virtual CPU, 26 elastic compute units. Now, you would have a question, what is the vCPU and what is ECU? See, when you go to the market and you try to procure certain infrastructure, a machine, you would say, I need a quad core processor, or dual core, something like that kind of a processor you would select, right? Compute units you would select on that. Now, each processor would have some kind of a capacity. So initially, Amazon was benchmarking all its units as per the ECU. They say, okay, if I provide you something like 3.6 gigahertz equivalent to 2007 Opteron processor, it means I have 3 ECU, because 1 ECU equal to 1 to 1.2 hertz. So 3 would be 3 times capacity of this. 6 would be 6 times capacity of this. So this is how it was capturing his benchmarking, because when you try to perform, you say, okay, Tarun, you are saying you get the compute units, but how does that compute unit count? Memory would be okay, I get the 44 GB, but this compute unit is across what? Is it benchmark? So elastic compute unit was benchmark according to this. But this is a fashion-driven industry. People like the buzzwords, and VMware introduced the buzzword called vCPU, which is called the virtual CPU. And it becomes so synonymous with the CPUs that everybody started giving everything in a vCPU. So Amazon also, since last 4 months, it started offering everything as a vCPU model only. I'm sure everybody would say, what is the difference between two? How would I select? vCPU is now the unit of measure for EC2 description page. So on all Amazon EC2 pages, you would find the vCPU only. It's a standard measure of the shared CPU power as per the VMware's vCloud infrastructure. But if you really want to know exactly how much CPU is allocated to particular instance, that is expressed in a ECU. One ECU is equivalent to the Opteron processor I mentioned. Again, what was the difference and why this VCU was required? I'll tell you. Amazon started in 2006, right? In 2006, it might have procured some infrastructure, which would be equivalent to something going on a 1 gigahertz processor over there. In 2010, it might have procured something which would be equivalent to 1.5. In 2012, it might have procured something which would be equivalent to 2. In 2014, it might have procured some infrastructure which would be equivalent to 3. Something, just an example I'm giving. Now, when you request a virtual machine to Amazon, it may give you from this, or this. Any of the infrastructure it can give you. It will not guarantee that I will give you from the latest one only. It would give you from the available infrastructure. So if you just go and try to compare the ECUs, it would always have a varying performance. Because if I try to compare with this firmware in any case was working better than this. So even if I benchmark against Opteron, but this is a new firmware which would have a better performance all the time. So even if I get 26 ECU, you also get 26 ECU, it may happen that my 26 ECU are working little better than yours for the same application. And that was started questioning people. So Amazon standardized that, okay, let's go with the vCPU, which is a more better standard. Clear? Why do you need ECU, vCU comparison? Now, any questions till now? Any questions? Seems the match is very interesting than the session. I need to do some power hitting, is it? So vCPU runs in what hertz? That's Amazon does not provide. They go with the VMware standard, so you need to check the VMware standard. And how are they related? Again, that's a very good question, and I tried to do some kind of a relation I even didn't get. I did a lot of Googling. I didn't find the right answer. But if I just wanted to make a something, what happens is when you go for a CPU, you get 2 CPU with a quad core or quadra core or something like 8 core machines. I tried to make something like that. If one CPU with certain core would make you ECU. So it would happen that okay, one CPU into some number of cores would make your ECU. But frankly, Amazon is not providing a lot of information on that because it's a reason I'll tell you. It's a virtual thing, right? It's not a physical which you can measure very perfectly. And that's running on a different firmware. So it's also tough for Amazon to give. So that's why they don't come out and give this is the benchmark, this is the exact number. They are not coming out with that. Okay, moving on. Based on the pricing, Amazon also gives you 3 types of instances. First one is on demand, second one is a reserved, and third one is a spot. This is based on the pricing. On demand means you run for 8 hours, you pay for 8 hours. You stop for 16 hours, you do not pay for those 16 hours. Next day if you run for another 8 hours, you would pay for that. How many hours you keep on running, you would pay for that. In reserved instance, is a you assure Amazon that I would use your service for 1 year. You give them assurance, they would give you discount. So what would happen? You go and buy reserved instance and say I am going to use it for 1 year. Okay, your cost can be as low as 30 to 50%. You give assurance of 1 year, you give assurance of 50 per year, 3 year, the price would be much lesser. But you give assurance to Amazon. And now I'm sure everybody would say, if I did not fulfill my commitment, and then you can't run away. Amazon would keep charging. So when you are using for the production, this is a very good option to use. And I'll show you something in detail for now. First one is on demand, pay as you go model. Second one is a reserved where you want to use for the production and you save a huge cost with that. Third one is a spot. Spot is more like a eBay. You bid, you get it. In that case, suppose your instance cost you $1 per hour basis. You want to use for some batch processing for 50-60 minutes. It's a non-critical, so even if the data is lost, something happens, I'm fine. In that case, Amazon is having an ample amount of a capacity available. You bid for that. When you bid for that, you get it. For example, you say, I don't want to pay $1, I would pay you just 50 cents per hour. I would pay you just 50 cents per hour. Amazon says, okay, I have the capacity available. I'll give you at 50 cents. Good, you can start using at the 50 cents. Only catch here is, this is a very good option. Only catch here is, if somebody outbids you, like currently the market rate from 50, it changes to 60 cents. Your instance would be terminated without notifying you. Instance would be terminated without notifying you. So you lost your production data. So this is not a great option for the production service. But yes, if you have some batch process which you want to run for 1 hour, 2 hours, you can definitely go with the spot instance. Because it may happen that your instance may terminate without notifying you because somebody outbid you. So our non-mission critical data, you can run this. 3 options: spot, on demand, and reserved. When I go to the on demand, reserved allows you to reserve capacity as well as you lower the cost. How? It's a very cost effective. And it's a flexible model also. When you go and try to buy a reserved instance, you would be paying in a way that, okay, I want to pay a low one-time upfront payment or something on a recurring cost, but you charge me much less on that. A very good question. Can I save the instance data in the case of the spot? You can. When you launch a spot instance, launch it with the EBS volume and ensure that EBS volume does not get terminated when the instance is terminated. So all your volume would be saved, data would not be lost. Instance would be terminated, data would not be lost. Now, it's a very flexible and running over there. How? Let's see. It has a 3 models. Reserved instance comes in a 3 model. No upfront, partial upfront, and all upfront. You go to Amazon and say, I want to buy a reserved instance, but I don't want to pay anything now. Okay. So this is what they call it. This is for a small instance. I think it's for the large instance, sorry. For the large instance something, it would say you would be able to save around 31% here, because I would not charge you anything upfront. Instead, monthly I will charge you $6.57 fix. Whether you run instance or you don't run the instance, I would charge you this amount. In the partial upfront, you say, okay, I am going to pay you some amount upfront. In that case, Amazon says, then great. Then you can save some money. You will save around 32%. So you pay me $50. I would be, every month, I would be charging you $2.19. You say all upfront. I pay you everything. Now, $75. Okay, then I would not charge you anything at all. You would save money. But only catch is, if you stop the instance, you don't use it, it will still keep on charging you. So this is for the production servers. It would reduce cost by 1/3, and that's a huge amount, frankly. You remember, generally in a production, people run hundreds of servers. And when you buy, there are the infrastructure hundreds or thousands of servers, right? When you buy this reserve pricing for them, if it's a 1/3 cost is reduced, I would say your 30% instance are free of the cost. Huge savings for you. So reserved instance is very popular for the long running production instance. And when you decide to do that, you should go with the reserved instance without fail. It will save you a huge cost. Same way, instead of 1 year term, you go for 3 year term. It would be like this. If you do the simple math, what it would do is, like you say, I am not paying you, I am doing this. If you keep on running for 6 months, you would recover your cost. You would be able to save the cost after 6 or 7 months. So you would be saving some money after that. So when you are going to run more than 6 to 7 months in a year, you should go for the reserved instance option. Clear? We learned 2 types till now, 2 types of the AMIs, EBS back and instance store back. We launch an instance, we learn about the instance family, and then we learn about the instance pricing models. Now instance addressing, we already discussed about that. Each instance would have a private IP, and then same IP corresponding, it would have a DNS. It would also have a public IP. We decided how to get that. And you will also have the elastic IP. Now remember, I talk about the elastic IP charging. It would charge you ½ cent per hour. So it would be little cost there if you don't use it. Elastic IP is for the account. You can get maximum 5 IP per region. If you don't use it, it would be charged. If you are using attached with the instance, it would not cost you. Why this is important, elastic IP? Because what would happen here? Take a case. You have a server. This is my server. Now, due to any reason, this server is having IP 1.1.1.2. This is a database. Any reason that this is internet is sending the data to 1.1.1 or 2. This instance goes down. You launch a new instance and assign the same IP. You don't need to make any change at your DNS level. It would still work seamlessly for you. So elastic IP helps you to achieve high availability. Security group, we already talked about that in detail. So we showed in the case. Security group would be for EC2 Classic or EC2 VPC. You guys may not have the EC2 Classic option because yours is a new account. security group, you can select the inbound and outbound traffic. Now what you are configuring at the IP tables level, that would be configured here at the security group level now. Now, security credentials. Amazon would have a different kind of a credentials, and we will talk in detail when we go to the day 7. When I show the account part, I'll show you detail more and more about that. But each account will have a 12-digit account ID. So that I'll show you. When you go to console and you select my account, you would see this is a 12-digit account ID assigned to me. That's a unique ID through which I am identified at the Amazon level. Also for the security credentials, you can just go from here. You would find a various kind of a security credential here. If you want to modify your password, you can change your password here. Plus, there is a concept, multi-factor concept of the access key and secret access key. This is useful when you want to make a REST call, web API calls. You would need this access key and secret access key. At that time, username and password would not work. You would need this. And again, it follows the same concept of the Amazon. If you create a new access key, you make it inactive, or it would, with each access key, it would give you one secret access key. If you forgot that secret access key, you would never be able to get it back. You need to deactivate, delete it, and create new access key again. Amazon does not store your secret access key. Same way for X509 certificates. If you are going to work with the command line tools, you may need this X509 certificates also. So with this, let's go. If I am anything pending here. This is key pair. We talk about that. In the Amazon EC2 tools, we saw the Amazon Management Console. This is a third-party tool called Elastifox. It used to be very popular in early 2010-11 because Amazon Console was not so very well. But now the console is so fast, people would not go to Elastifox. But it's a free plugin available from in a Firefox. You can download and use it. How do you configure the command line tools? If you are using the standard, you can configure all this. So with this, I bring the end to the EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, on-demand virtual server available to you with 2 types of AMIs, 3 types of the pricing models, and number of instance types with different families. Are we all clear on the EC2? Any question or doubt? Anything you want to know? Any doubt? Any question? Okay, so let's go to the EBS. Elastic Block Storage is a block level storage offered by the Amazon. Now what is a block level storage? First, let's understand the difference between block level and file level storage. In a block level storage, it would be raw volume of storage are created and each block can be controlled as an individual hard drive. It's like a SAN. So what would happen if you go to Wikipedia and try to read the block level? The block would be, say, it's a collection of arrays, bytes. So there would be an array of bytes and its collection is called a block. It's a block level storage. This is more like a SAN drive. So Piyush has a question saying that is there any real-time banking or stock exchange application available on EC2? There are a lot of applications that started moving to EC2. NASA is currently using EC2. Nasdaq is also using EC2. So, and some of the banks also started using EC2. May not be the live for the banking, but they have, because seriously, people are now going to the EC2 because they find it very secure. Amazon provides a lots of security mechanism which would ensure you have the right security available. So which bank? As I said, there are the some of the banks. If you want to list all the list of the Amazon, you can just go to here, AWS case studies, and you would find a huge number of layers. I'll show you this. Netflix, etc. You would find all the cases here. Who all are at Amazon? And what do you want to see in the use case? You would find everything here. All customer success, you would find that here. And there would be many more. So you can decide which one you want to see more, and it would give you the case. Okay? Now, coming back to block level storage and the file level storage. In the block file level storage, it would be raw volume of the storage which is created. So it's like a collection of the blocks. It's more like a SAN drive, if you know SAN drive. But if you want to think really in a what is exactly block device would be, block device you can think of is a remote storage system you can think of as a. So your compute would be somewhere. They and your storage would be connected over fiber channel or over a network. They both would be connected over a network in the block level storage. In the file level storage, it's more like the file system or a hard drive of your machine. It's a common, like a NTFS and all that kind of NFS kind of scenario. It would be there. So that's the difference between block level and file level storage. Amazon EBS is an elastic block storage, which is a block level storage offered by the Amazon. Now what is so special about that? EBS provides block level storage which is highly available and highly reliable. Very high persistence of the data, especially for the database file system where you need a raw block level storage data. It can be created from 1 GB to 1 terabytes. As of now it's a 1 terabyte, but soon I hope by the month end it would be 16 terabytes. Because Amazon has already announced it would be soon going to be 16 terabytes. Once that volume is created, it can be attached to any instance in the same availability zone. Now I will explain all these points. What happens? EBS, if you want to think, is like a plug and play device. Plug and play device means one where you will have portable USB drive. I'm sure you must have some portable USB drives you might have used. You can think this is similar to that. This is your server, one machine. You have one EBS volume. I attach to that, it would be attached over the network. Now I have all the data persisted here only. Now due to any reason, this instance is not available, or I don't want to use it here. I can launch new instance. I can remove this from here and I can attach here. But remember, one EBS can be attached to one instance at a time. So if this is attached to this instance 2, it cannot be attached to instance 1 at the same time. You have to detach from there, then only you can attach it here. Same way, when you want to remove from this, you remove from this and attach to number 3. But yes, one instance can have multiple EBS attached at the same time. So somebody asked me why 1 terabytes only? If I want more, you can attach multiple EBS volumes to that. More than 40, that's what Amazon says. You can attach as much as you want. It would be available to you. And they all are plug and play. So when you don't want, you can just disassociate or detach from there, take it to another instance and attach to there. One challenge is, one volume can be attached to instance in the same availability zone only. Now what does that mean? Let me come to next slide and I'll explain that. It's a highly available, highly reliable plug-and play device. Raw storage from 1 gigabytes to 1 terabytes for the persistence file systems. It would also have an option for point-in-time snapshot for data. Do you remember we talked about the snapshot yesterday? I'll show you in live. Now EBS snapshots are incremental backups. They would be taking the backups. EBS snapshots are an incremental backup. They would be doing it. What does it mean by the incremental? I'll come that in a detail in a few slides. So EBS would allow to create from 1 gigabyte to 1 terabyte persistent storage, high performance, high reliability within same availability zone, but each storage volume is automatically replicated within the same availability zone. Now remember, somebody asked me this question yesterday. This data replication, wouldn't that take longer time? How would it work if there are the availability zones, all that concept? Right? Somebody asked me that question. This is the thing. What happens? Let me go to next slide and I'll show you something in the design there. It behaves like a raw unformatted block device, so that we know it. Now when I go to the next slide, sorry, let me show you this and then I'll come to the first one. EBS can work with the instance in the same availability zone. Why? Let's see that first. This is my EC2 instance. Now what is a block level storage we discuss about? It's a raw unformatted device attached over the network. So this EBS volume would be attached over the network to it. Now remember, if the EBS and instance, they both are in a different zone, that means they are in a different data center, then it would definitely have a little more latency. EBS needs a high performance, high latency. So Amazon has made a mandate that volume has to be attached to an instance in the same availability zone only. If it's in another availability zone, you can't do that. Yes, there are ways you can do something by creating new volume, and I'll come to that in a while. But for now, volume can be attached to instance in the same availability zone only. Now what? If this is able to attach over there, Amazon would ensure that it would keep replicating data within the same availability zone for the high availability of the data. It means this is a raw volumes, right? There would be some data here, there would be volumes data, there would be different clusters of the data available, raw storage. So what happens whenever it writes the data, even if it is written the data into one block, it may keep replicate of that data in some other block also. Amazon does not charge you for this. But why this is important? Because if something happens to this block is corrupted, you would still have the data backup available somewhere. So Amazon keeps replicating data internally within the same availability zone to ensure the high availability of the data. Now understanding a little bit on the EBS. EBS is a distributed replicated block to optimize for the consistency and low latency rate. A volume which can be attached to one instance at a time, but many volume can be attached to the single instance. Snapshot is a very important concept. EBS you use for the persistent storage, right? You use the EBS for the persistent storage. Now you also want to ensure the some backup of the data. Why? Suppose you have a EBS volume. Now today you have certain data available. You know this is a stable data. Now something happens due to any reason that EBS is corrupted, which is very unlikely, or EBS deleted by mistake, or something happens. This zone completely goes down. How do you recover it? Amazon provides an option called EBS snapshots. So snapshot, if you know the SAN and all that snapshot, it's a similar concept where when you take a snapshot, it would be stored in Amazon storage system called S3 in some compressed format. So today you may have a 10 GB of the data. The volume size is 50 GB. Out of that 10 GB is occupied. When you take a snapshot, it would compress all the data and stored inside the Amazon S3 in some compressed and zipped way and archived way. So you can always recover back. Amazon does charge you for the snapshot. Then you would say, what is the use of snapshot? Why would I use the snapshot at all? First is it's a point in time backup and you must take a snapshot for a production system. There is no way you can come out of the snapshot if you are doing a production system. You need to keep on taking backup. But there are multiple usage beyond that. What are those usages? First one is, we just talk about, I have a volume, it can run to the same availability zone only. It cannot be attached to any other zone instance, to any other zone's instance. So volume is always zone specific, while S3, the snapshot, is always region specific. So whenever you take a snapshot, it would be say I'll be stored in the US East region. That's it. In which zone? No, there is no zone concept in the storage here. So advantage is you can create a same volume in the same region but in different availability zone using snapshot. So you have one instance running, you have one volume attached to that, you want to create another instance and want to have the same data available here, you take a snapshot, you create a new volume in the separate zone, attached to this instance, it would be up and running for you, available to you. Second thing, you have this volume which is of 50 GB size. You think my size is not enough, now my data is being almost occupied. You take a snapshot, you create a new volume of 500 GB, it would have the same data available, but size would be higher. So using snapshot, you can increase this file size. Third option, you want to take a backup in some different region. This snapshot is available in region 1. You want to say, I want to learn something in US East also, or sorry, Asia or Singapore also. You copy snapshot to different region, that's a Singapore, and launch a new instance, new volume from that snapshot. You would have the same data available. So snapshot comes with a huge number of advantages. The primary is the data backup. But apart from that, when you want to have the higher volume size, replicate the volume, copy into different regions, everything is possible with the snapshot concept. A question, how data will be in sync using snapshot? So I believe you would say, today I took a snapshot 1. After 2 days I took a snapshot 2. How would it be in sync, right? With the data snapshot of data 1. Am I understanding your question right, Bhupesh? Right, Bhupesh? Okay, don't worry. I have a dedicated slide for this, so I'll explain that in detail. So we talk about EBS. Now, how do you do? You create a volume, you attach to a instance, and you can use that. Now let's see this part. Let's see some demo first, and then we'll come back. What I do is, let me launch a new instance, if I can. What happened? Or I can start this also. I can start this. It would take a while to come up. What I can do here is, I can go to the volumes on the left hand side. This is already, I am having a volume here. I'll say create volume. Now EBS has 3 types. I'll come to that in a while. I'll just go for the 2 GB volume. I'll select US East 1B. I'll go with the 1 GB. I don't want to create from any snapshot. I just create this. And I say create volume. So Amazon would create a volume for me. This was attached to which drive? Now I want to attach this 1 GB. Sorry, it was here. I want to attach this volume here. I go and search. No matching instance found. Why? Remember I told you it has to be in same availability zone. I created volume in different availability zone, so I would never be able to attach to the instance. So I should delete it. I'll create a volume. I'll create the magnetic. I'll create 2 GB, but select US East 1A. It's available, so I just say action attach volume. Now you can see my instance is available because in the same availability zone. How do I want to attach? Dev SDF. Each volume would be always attached as a additional device. So this is attached as a device, Dev SDF or Dev STP. Even if it's a Windows machine, it would be attached as a device only. In the Windows drive, it would be shown as a CDE like that. I'll go and say attach. Now let's connect to the machine. If I want to see my attached devices, it would show, I run the command df-h, it would show me all my devices which are attached here. Doesn't show my device. Any idea why? Any Linux expert can point? Perfect answer from Nalapuram and Varun. You need to mount the device. For Linux and all that, you need to mount it first, then only you can see that. Now, how do you mount it? So, you just run the command. Any folder you make it. I'll copy it, it's easier for me. It's my dev SDF, so I just say volume over there. It would not allow because currently this is in a read-only mode. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to create a file system on that first. This is a raw unformatted volume. First create a file system on top of this. So I'll create a file system here. I run the command this one mkfs-t, my drive name. Now if I go and say mount, it work. And if I now do df-h, you can see my drive here. 2 GB volume. So I have an additional volume available. Let's go and make some data there. Currently there is nothing. I'll make a create So I have some data available here. Some file I created there, right? So this is my additional volume where I have some data available. Okay. Now, if I want to create a backup, or rather, I'll show you something more and then I can go further and further. I'll do the demo so that would clear some of your concept easily. I want to increase the size from 2 gigabytes to 10 gigabytes. How can I do it? Go to actions, say create snapshot. Just name. It would create a snapshot, right? We talk about the snapshots. So on the left hand side, I click on the snapshots. You would see my data is, my snapshot is created. Now what is the value of the snapshot? I had some data available. I create a file on my volume after snapshot. So I created a file which I created after the snapshot, right? Now we took a snapshot before. So what I want to do is, I want to detach this volume first. I don't want to use it. So I'll say, oh sorry, I'm here. I'll go to the volumes. I'll say detach volume. It's detached over there. In a while it would be. It's still detaching. 2 minutes. It has not given it. We need to give it some time. Sorry, Suresh, what is this question mark for? Just write down the question. By the time it gets detached, it didn't get. Oh, I think it is. I'm just refreshing this. It's stuck. It's getting detached, so we need to wait for a while at least. Till that time, I'll go to the snapshots. I'll try to create a volume. Let me see if it has happened here or not. It's still not detached because I think it was over there attached and instance was running over there. So it might not allow that. Let me see. Or we may need to stop. I'll say force detach as of now. And I'll go to the snapshot till the time. I'll try to create a new volume. So I'll go to action and say create volume. I can create the magnetic again. I can give the size as 10 GB now instead of 10. I'll say create. It's still in use, so it's not allowing to detach because I think only option would be we need to stop it for now because it's a data instance is open or what. Yeah, it is detached now. So ideally it should not show me. Ideally I should have a dismounted from here.
then it should have been allowed me to detach easily. I didn't detach here. I need to dismount here. Then it would not show here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to attach this volume, and now I attach as a dev SDG. Just a second. So if I see here again, let me clear, it would be easier for you to visualize. Now I create another folder. You can see my volume 1 data is available now. Now what did I do the difference? Can you note down a few points for me? Can you find something discrepancy, what I did before I didn't do, or something different thing here? There are two things which is different now. If you can list down for me. Right answer from Varun. I didn't create a file system here. Why? Because file system should be created only on the raw unformatted volume. This volume was created from a snapshot, so it would always have the data available. If I go and run the file system command there, it would format my data and all data would be lost. Understand? So you should not run a file system command on the volume which was created from a snapshot. Second point, very good from Varun. Why does it show 2 GB only? You created 10 GB. Because my original volume was 2 GB. As per the Linux, it would show me the command as a 2 GB only. You need to run the Linux command sudo resize to fs. You can see the size now, 10 GB. Clear everyone with the concept of the EBS perform. Oh, I didn't show you one thing. Sorry, not the volume. I am in a volume 1 and I'll show the data. It would have only test tarun file because the second file was created after snapshot, so it's not available here. So whatever was there in your system when snapshot was taken, only that data would come. If you want to take the another data of the backup, you need to take a new snapshot. So if I take the 2 GB volume snapshot now, just an example, I go and say create snapshot. Oh, sorry. And from this, if I create a new volume, I create of 2 GB size only. It would be available. I can mount this, attach this. This is the new volume I created just now. 2 GB though. It would take little time, something I believe, because that's dev SDF was attached there something. Let me detach it. I should have attached to some other drive. But then it would have the data. I just wanted to convert the message. It should have the data available of that time. Right, everybody clear? So can you repeat the reason why I did not do the MKFS? I'll just show you. When you take a snapshot, the snapshot would have some data from the volume, right? When it is having some volume data, it means it is already having a file system and the data is there. When you run the command, this MKFS, it creates a complete new file system, formats the data and gives you a blank drive. When you created a blank volume, it would not have any file system and you need to create this. But when you created a volume from the existing snapshot, it would always have the file system and data available. So you should not run this command, else it would wipe out the existing data. Clear? You can see it would have the data available. The 2 GB, if I go to the volume, let me just see. You can see it is having the after snapshot file available now. Clear with the concept, everybody? Good point from Varun. But the new volume of 8 GB is more. So new volume is of 10 GB size and only 2 GB was having file system. What about that? Remember we run this resize to FS command? It would format that. File system requires only on volume. Now the volume size is 2 GB or 10 GB. The file system would be there. So you just run this command. It would do the required task for you. Clear everybody? Any doubts or questions? It's a very important EC2 EBS. Why do we use EBS? For the consistency purpose, everything like that. Even my Apache might be Apache. I just need to start it. But Apache would be also available here. It would be running once I start. Any doubts or questions till now, or we are very good now till now? Now, one thing I wanted to show you. Delete on, when I was launching an instance, in the EBS this flag was there. Delete on termination. If it is true, it will delete all the root volumes attached to that instance automatically. But if I remove this flag and launch an instance, in that case, when my instance get terminated, this volume would not be terminated. So somebody asked me, if I have a spot instance and I want to survive the data, save the data, how would I do this? Ensure the delete on termination is false for that instance. Yes, if you have additional volumes attached to that instance, by default for all additional volume, delete on termination is always false. So when you terminate the instance, this volume would still be there and it might cost you. Costing raises all the ears, isn't that? Everybody would say how much, why, what cost? Is it part of the free usage tier? Right? Everybody would have that question. Let me see if my free one is still open. No. Amazon EBS gives you 30 GB of the free EBS. So you created a volume, this all total is 10 and 212 and 14 and 822. Everything is still part of the free usage tier. If I created a new volume of 10 GB, total would be 32 GB. And if I keep on there for a whole month, it would charge me for the 2 GB because it's more than 30 GB. You would say, oh, then I would never cross it. If you launch a Linux Windows instance, it would cost you, the Windows instance would have a default 30 GB only, which would be chargeable. Now somebody said, would SSD drive would charge me? I'll come to that when I go to that part. Which SSD you use, I'll come to that part. But just wanted to clarify everything clear, everybody, concept of EC2, EBS, any doubts till now? It seems the match is getting interested. I'm not sure why, but I'm not getting any feedback as of now. So are we all clear? Is the match too interesting? Okay, at least one person is clear, I hope, out of all this, so that's a good to know. Now, we're talking about the EBS and we talk about this. And we talk about that if you ever mark the flag delete on termination as a false, even if the instance is terminated, the root volume would not be deleted. By default, for all additional volume, this flag is false only. And if you want to make it true, you need to do it through the command line tool. Okay. Next concept, the snapshot, and it's a very important, so I would like a few attention here. Everybody please. Okay, so how can we check whether the created snapshot is having a terminated flag or not? First thing, it is not for the snapshot, it is for the EBS. And I don't think the volume does provide that, but I'll just check it again once. I still doubt that. Yeah, as I said, it doesn't provide that. No, it would have. Nope, it doesn't provide. So you need to do it only then the command line tool. I just wanted to check whether it's providing here or not. I wanted to verify. It doesn't provide here. You can do only through the command line tool. So there are the command line tools available to set this value to get this. Whenever you say EC2 describe volumes, it would give you the parameters where the volume, what is the delete on termination, true or not. And then what would happen here also when you can change that flag also using the command line tool. Okay. Now, one thing you need to know, EBS cannot be accessed from the internet. And I'm sure everybody would have a question. You just connected to that, didn't you? I connected to EC2. I did not connect to the EBS directly. If this is my EBS volume, it's in available state, I can never connect to that unless it is attached to some instance, right? So EBS can be accessed, it cannot be accessed from the internet directly. You have to connect to a EBS EC2 instance, then only you can access that. Okay, Piyush has some question, and Piyush, I would say I'll park your question till next session. I'll have all the answer in the next session. Remember this, I'll show you. If I don't, you'll understand that. We can discuss that in the next question. This is about the monitoring part, so I'll park it till next session. Coming back to, you can create a snapshot, and from snapshot you can create a multiple new volumes. We already did the practical for that. Now snapshot is a very important concept, and I talk about that. You can take a snapshot when the instance is running or not running. Important point to note is, if there is an instance running, you have a volume attached to that, right? And you take a snapshot. This snapshot is known as a crash consistent snapshot. What do I mean by crash consistent? It means because this instance might have something in memory also, which might not be written on disk. Snapshot takes the data whichever was written in the disk only. So if you want to be too persistent and application consistent and everything, there are two options. Either stop the instance, so all the data would be in memory only, or you freeze the file OS for a while, or you freeze the application for a while, then take a snapshot, then only it would work for you. Again, it would not be a much different for you if you don't have a lot of things in the memory, but just to make you aware, this is the case. Whatever is written in the disk, that would be taken care by the snapshot. If something is in memory, snapshot would never take this. Now, the snapshot can be used to create multiple new volumes. We did that. Expand the size. We did that. Across the availability zone. We did that. You can share the snapshot with other accounts also. That's possible. You can replicate to the other environments also. Like if you want to do this, one thing I just show you quickly. You have the snapshot. You want to copy it. You can copy to other region also. So this way you can copy snapshot to other regions also. This would be helpful for you. So in that region you can create this volume. Now is snapshot incremental? How does it sync the data? I got the question. Do pay attention for a few minutes. It's a very important and very interesting slide. Suppose we take a hypothetical scenario. Amazon would not do the exact scenario, but this is for your understanding. You have a EBS volume which is having 4 GB of the data as of now. Now 4 GB we consider each block of 1 GB, which would not always be right because each block would be of just few KBs only, and then Amazon would be creating a collection of those blocks and then creating a collection of those bytes and then creating a block and something. But only for our understanding purpose, I am saying each block is of 1 GB. Now you take on 5th of September, you take a snapshot of the data. Amazon would compress each block and create that block inside the Amazon simple storage system. So this would be stored in the S3 somewhere. So each block would be compressed and a backup of that block would be taken here. So we consider that each block of 1 GB here. Now the size would not be exact 1 GB because what would happen? Amazon would compress and store in some format. It might be little less than that. So this is how the snapshot. And snapshot is like a pointer concept. Remember the pointer in the C? I'm sure everybody would awake and say, why do you bring back the pointer? We cleared in the engineering by so many night outs that pointer, and then it's gone so easy life with the Java and .NET and everything. Now you're bringing back the pointer again to our life. It's a pointer like a concept. So when you create a snapshot, snapshot would be exactly, I know. So I got the similar feedback. The pointer was a nightmare and I do know. So pointer means like it's a pointing to something. So when you create a snapshot, it would just create a snapshot as a reference of SS1 and it would create all 4 blocks in the S3, and this snapshot 1 would keep pointing to all these 4 blocks like I have shown here. It would keep pointing to them. Now comes the next day. On 6th of September, you take another backup. But before that, what happened? Your data now changed to the 5 GB. Your data is increased by 1 GB. So this is the new block which is added. But only this block was not added. Even the block 1 was there, it was modified. Block 2 was also modified because you updated certain data. So how many blocks are modified? Block 1, block 2 and block 5. There is no change in block 3 and 4. When you take the snapshot 2, snapshot is an incremental. Amazon keeps track of each and every block modification. So when you take a snapshot 2, it would just take the backup of block 1, block 2 and block 5. But since this was a reference, this reference would keep pointing to this block 3 and block 4 also. It would not take them again, but it would just keep pointing them. Now in this case, if you just try to recover the data from this snapshot, it would take block 1 from here. I'll just take another pen color. When you try to recover from the snapshot 2, it would take block 1 from here, block 2 from here, block 3 from here, all the black dots you circles you'll see, block 4 from here and block 5 from here. So you would get this complete EBS volume back. I go to the day 3. I have added 1 more GB of the data. So it's now 6 GB of the data. So this was modified. I also modified the number 2, which was from the yesterday. So from yesterday, I modified number 2. From day 1, I modified number 3. Number 4 is still not modified. Number 5 is not modified. Number 1 is same as this. Now what would happen when I take a snapshot? It would take a point that, okay, it would take the backup of the block 2 because it was modified, block 3 because it was modified, block 6 because it was created new. Block 1 is still as it is, so it would keep pointing to the day 2, which was the last block. Block 4 was never modified, so it would keep pointing here only. Now, if I try to recreate a volume from snapshot 3, it would take block 1 from this orange line, you see orange block, block 2 from here, block 3 from here, follow the orange one only, block 4 from here, block 5 from here, and block 6 from here. So it's an incremental backup. Amazon keeps track of everything. It would ensure what the data is coming and what the data is being modified. It would take the backup of that. Now what's the advantage of all this mechanism? First is, do you worry how Amazon is taking a backup? You don't worry, right? Because for Amazon, it would be internally managing everything. So you don't need to worry. Okay, but what is the advantage of this? Two advantage. First is the snapshot taking process is faster. If it was taking the full backup every time, this time it would have taken 4 GB, second time 5 GB, third time 6 GB. It would be longer process, it would take more time. Second is cost saving. Because if you take the full backup, it would charge you plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. So 15 GB backup it would cost you. In this case, it would charge you for 4 plus 3 plus 3. So only 10 GB backup it would charge you. So only the block which is modified, it would cost you for that. So it's a faster, cost effective, so you should use that. Now second thing is, why do we use this? In a way, I would say, if somebody deletes this block, what would happen? Or somebody can't delete the block, somebody deletes the snapshot. So if somebody has deleted the snapshot 2 by mistake, let me use the black one, that would be easier. Sorry, there are so many colors, I'm sorry, but I hope it's making clear for you. So somebody deleted snapshot 2, that's been deleted. It would delete only those blocks. Let me delete everything. If I delete the snapshot 2, it would delete only those blocks which are being referenced exclusively by snapshot 2. So you can see only block 2 would be deleted here, not anyone else. If you go and try to delete snapshot 1, then it would delete the block, sorry, not block 3. It would delete the block 1 and block 2. Because they were exclusively referred by here. Others two are referred by snapshot 2, so they would 2 would not be deleted. So that's the power of the Amazon snapshot. It's an incremental backup and how you use it. Frankly, you would not find that very easily explained everywhere. This is based on my experience and lots of reading. I prepared this diagram just to explain you how this would take internally backup. So are you all clear with this? Okay, great. Now next is what we'll do is we made little overrun today, so I would not do a lot of overrun today. I would park some of the part to next session, which would be okay. I can cover up easily in the next session, but at least stay with me for next 15 minutes and then leave. Each volume would have 3 types of 3 categories: general purpose, PIOPS, and the magnetic. General purpose was announced just in June 2014. It is for the balance of the performance and price. Because EBS cost you how much? I'll show you in the next slides. So when you want the balance, price and performance, you need it. Now you would say, what is the performance of a EBS? EBS is the most critical performance requirement because at the end, it's a disk. There would be lot of IO happening on the disk. You need the very faster IO, so your performance would improve on that. That IO means input output per second. General purpose charge you 10 cents per GB per month, and it offers you 3 IOPS per GB of the storage. So you created a 10 GB volume, you get 30 IOPS. You created a 50 GB volume, you get 150 IOPS. That's a dedicated. You created a 500 GB, you get 1500 IOPS dedicated, plus sometimes burstable also up to 3000 IOPS. So it can burst also sometimes on requirement. And it's the most balanced one option for that. Second one is a provision IOPS. Provision IOPS is where you need a real higher IO. See, you are working in an application where there is a huge database access and a lot of IO happening. In that case, you can use this provision IOPS concept. This provision IOPS would help you to provide a dedicated IO as per your requirement. So when you are creating this volume, you can say I need 200, 500, 1000, up to 4000 IOPS you can offer. And what Amazon says, almost 90% of that provision you would get 99.99% time. So if you have provision 1000 IOPS, you would minimum get 900 and more up to 1000. But that's a huge number, and when you are dealing with a database, IOs are the basic requirement for you. But nothing comes free. IOPS would charge you. It would charge you for the different for the storage and different for the IOs. How much will come in a few slides. So we showed the general purpose, provision IOPS, and third one is a magnetic. They used to be standard volume before. Initially they were the standard volume. Now they are the new volume that they are little obsolete becoming because they offer you the very low IOPS. Their cost is also cheaper, but IOS is also cheaper. So if you want to do just R&D and temporarily, you can select the magnetic volume, that is fine. If you are doing real production, you can select the general purpose or provision IOPS. Now let's compare all three. General purpose is best for the boot volume. Why? Because it gives you burstable performance for virtual desktops, small to medium database, for dev and test environments. When you need dedicated IOs, you can select the provision IOs. This should be 4000. Sorry, there is a typo here. It should be 4000. The maximum general purpose can go as of now is 1 terabyte, but very soon it would be 16 terabytes. Same case for the provision also. Magnetic is for the cold workload, for just dev and test and all that kind of a case. This would be good. It can be go maximum 1 terabyte only. This can burst up to 3000 plus 3 IOPS per GB. This can consistently provide you 4000 IOPS. This gives you maximum 100. That is also on average maximum it can give. Generally it would give you around 80-90 IOs only. Charging wise, magnetic cost you just 5 cents per GB per month. So you have a 100 GB of volume. This would cost you $5 for whole month. This would cost you $10 for the whole month. And this would cost you $12.5. Plus if you have provision 1000 IOPS, so around 6.5 more, sorry 65 more, so around $77 it would cost you. Now you would say this is very costly, right? Why should I use this? Do I really need to use this, or should I always go? And even why should I use general purpose also? This is costly. Let's compare all three again. General purpose would be good for the boot volume, or for magnetic is mainly for the cost savings or for the IO patterns. If we try to compare by the cost, let's try to compare a cost. If you are running a medium-sized website which is having 100 GB in size and which requires 100 IOPS per second, considering general volume, magnetic, it would cost you $5 in the storage, that is 100 into 0.5, and around $13 is for the IO, because magnetic also charges you for the IOs, so 0.05 per 1 million IOs. Now how many IOs happen here? Hundreds per second into 1 hour second into 1 day's hours into 1 month. So total IOs which might happen is 260 millions. So cost coming of the IO is $13 plus $5. So $18 per month. Because general purpose charges you for the IO also. Magnetic charges you for the IO also. General purpose does not charge you for IO, so it would fix $10 only. And IOPS would cost you around 22.5. So does it mean I would always use the IOPS or something? Let's try to compare one more time and break all the maths. For example, you need 500 dedicated IOPS and 100 GB of the storage. Now if you want to do this with the magnetic gives you only 100 IOPS. You can still achieve that. How? You can do the RAID. Do you know the word RAID? R-A-I-D? It's a striping of the multiple volumes together. If you do the RAID 5, 0, something like that, RAID 1, it would improve the performance of your volumes. So you created 5 volumes, each of the 20 size. Each volume can offer you 100 IOPS. You combine everything, it can reach up to 500 IOPS. That's a possible scenario. For this, what I'll do is I'll create a 100 GB or I'll create even the 200 GB volume. Let me create 200 GB. So this would charge me $20. Now 1 GB gives me 3 IOPS. So 200 GB gives me 600 IOPS here. So cost of the 600 IOPS $20. Cost of 500 IOPS with 100 GB here would cost you around 45. Well, here in the magnetic it would cost you 69. So see, provision is also cheaper than the magnetic in this case. So you need to understand, do the simple math and then come to a conclusion which one should I use it. This would be helpful for you. Now what I do is, I have just a few slides pending, which is little theory. I'll park it for a while. I'll do one more demo which is pending from my end. So what I'll do is, I want to create an AMI of my volume instance. So I go to the AMI instance, I'll say actions, image, create image. It would say, do you want to do for all two? No, I don't want to do for the other twos. I just want to do for my root volume only. You can do for the all volumes, that is fine. I'm just doing for this explanation only. And create image. So easy. Just right click and create the image. Now when you create image, remember, instance may go down temporarily for a while. Temporarily it may go down. But that is because it has to take the complete stable state and everything it would do and do. So be careful while you are taking AMI of the production server, because it may go down for a while. For a while means around 5 minutes. But as I said, with this EBS back, it's just a right click kind of a case and easy to do. If it was an instant store, it would take almost 15 to 20 minutes and lots of steps involved over there. So when I go to the AMIs, it would be in a pending. It would take around 5 minutes. But I'll just show you one example. I have created a similar kind of AMI before, which is having the Apache as part of that. So when I just say launch, use the AMI, I can use the micro, whatever I want to use it. I'm allowing to launch. Now till the time it launches, I'll show you the last slide first. This is very important. When you want to connect to an EC2 instance, you might need to log in with some kind of a username or password. If you remember, I logged in with the EC2 user because I selected Amazon Linux. If you launch Ubuntu, the username would be Ubuntu. If you launch Debian, it would be admin. For RHEL, it would be this or root. For Fedora, it would be EC2 user. For SUSE, it would be different. So for each kind of OS, the login name would be different. So you need to select whether which kind of OS you are launching. Based on that, your username would be different. Now a very good question. I hope I thought I put it here. So I didn't have this here. So what is the cost of the snapshot? Snapshot charges you at 0.095 cents per or $0.095 per GB. This is the cost of the snapshot. And it would be part of the free usage tier because it's a part of the S3. Actually, Amazon never says whether it's a part of the free usage tier or not. So what I would recommend is, if you want to do the snapshot for R&D, you do it, but then delete it after a while. How do I delete the snapshots? You can easily go to the snapshots, select the snapshot whichever you want to delete. In the actions, say delete. Same way for the volumes which you have done with the work with that. Also remember to terminate or stop the instance. I'll just terminate my instance. I don't want that because it may cost me. I am out of free usage tier. So for me, that's a challenge. So you can also delete all the volumes which are there, which are being unutilized. You should, after instance is terminated, delete all the volumes also. If you don't need the AMI, also delete the AMI from select here and say actions deregister. You should do this, otherwise it may cost you somewhere which might be chargeable. So be careful on these all aspects. Right? I'm not sure if this is still up or not. So I'll just check quickly. It's still not up. Its instance is coming up. It's being launched. So we need to wait for a minute or two. But till that time, yeah. Do you have any questions? Any other questions? As a homework, you all need to do, you would get the assignments at least no, they are not mentioned here. You would get this from the learning management system. Create an instance, create a security group, create a key pair, launch an instance. You can launch from the Windows machine also, Windows instance also. If you want to try Elastic API, you can try, or forget, it's okay. Then if you want to try with the CLI, you can do that. Create a volume, create an AMI, take a snapshot, create a new volume. If you want to do the provision, yeah, one thing somebody asked me, whether the SSD based volume would charge me or not. So remember, general purpose and the magnetic are part of the free usage tier up to 30 GB. Provision IOPS is not part of the free usage tier. So if you create provision IOPS, it would charge you. So if you want to create a volume, create less than 30 GB, it would work for you. Right? Any other questions which I did not answer? I missed something? It's still launching, so. Any other question? Where are the how-to guides? You would get that how-to guys in the learning management system. You would get it. Ricardo has a very good point. I think it will be easy to mess up and get charged. I do know. So you have to be careful, and that's why I'm saying do follow my instruction. So only free part would be EC2 instance micro size, EBS volume less than 30 GB, total less than 30 GB. That would be part of the free usage tier. Elastic IP may cost you. PIOPS volume may cost you. So be careful. If you want to get charged a little bit, it's okay. Or you can do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I actually deleted my test instance, which test day 2 I. No, I think I correctly did this. What happened to this? Yeah, it's running. You can see that I launch an instance and I have installed the Apache. I have set up some index file and everything. So it's running for me. So this is how the AMI would work. Once you launch an AMI, whatever the content out of this, it would be running for you. When you don't need it, you just terminate it. Also for the volumes, whichever you don't want, delete the volumes. For all the costing related queries, I'll also show you something next week. So you would have some better idea for that. So what do you think for the session? Was this section more fruitful, or was the India-Pakistan more fruitful? Or is the India-Pakistan rather? Somebody told me India is doing pretty good in the match. I hope. I also did the similar way and you all enjoyed that. Okay then, I wish you all give the feedback and do let me know if you have I missed something in any improvement or you like that. Do give the similar kind of feedback. That always keeps me motivated. So till next Saturday, goodbye and have a nice match and have a nice weekend.